Before I go any further, I'm going to tell you right now, this is not going to be a tutorial on how to fly a drone. Sorry, I'll come to your house. I'll come down to Texas. Anyway, this is not a tutorial on how to fly a drone. This is not a tutorial, not going to be a tutorial on, well, basically that's it. You know, we're not talking about actually physically flying the drones. What this is going to be about is the opportunities we have as flight instructors to both reach out to a whole new community, and you'll see some numbers here that when I ran them the other night to finish this off, blew my mind. How to reach out to an entirely new community and how to make sure that everybody is playing nicely in the National Airspace System. The one thing I don't want to do is trade paint with somebody's Mavic Pro Plus or something like that. You know, it's not going to be a good day if it comes through the windshield. So, with that, I've always liked this statement. Aviation in itself is not inherently dangerous, but like the sea, it's terribly unforgiving of any carelessness, neglect, incapacity, well, I misread the quote because I'm trying to look at you guys in the eyes, but it's a great quote. And I think it was out before this, but the best credit I can find is a Air Force Flying Safety magazine from 1952. And it's what we have to do as instructors, and you'll see why I say this in a minute. We have to instill this to this new community. There's a whole community that's joining us that has no idea what aviation's about. Yet they have the title pilot. And it's not a put down. It is it is technology moving faster than the system could move to incorporate them in the system, into the airspace system. Does that make sense? So going on to the next slide. How we got here. Model airplanes weighing less than 65 pounds fell under, okay, how many, you're all CFIs, I assume, right? Okay. Under 55 pounds, they all fell under what I call the AMA rule. You know what AMA rule is? I used to belong to them. When I got into aviation, let me tell you a little background about myself. 40 years playing trains, 24 years as a flight instructor. I decided to learn how to fly when I built my one and only RC airplane, and it was an American model. What is their proper name? AMA. Yeah, thank you. But you know what I'm talking about, the American Aviation Model Association. There it is. Yeah, AMA. I built my one and only RC model, and I'm standing in the hot sun near a small non-towered airport in northern Illinois. It was 5,000 degrees out, and I'm looking up at the airplane, I said, it's having all the fun. This is ridiculous. So I went out and got my pilot certificate, and then one day I looked up, I was a multi-engine flight instructor. So how all that happened, I'm not sure, but that's how that happened. And 7,000 hours later, I'm still teaching people how to fly. So anyway, so they fell under the AMA rule. And they used to fall under 14 CFR 101 subcode, you know, and here's the quote, the part of the reg that mattered. Oops, it helps if I hit the right button. So, okay, this subport prescribes the rules governing the operation of model aircraft or aircraft being developed as a model aircraft that meets all of the following conditions, blah, blah, blah. Under section 336 of public law, what the heck is all this about? Okay. All right. 14 CFR 10141C. The aircraft, oops, same breaking Brian's rule here. What's the pointer? Oh, there it is. Okay, the aircraft is limited to not more than 55 pounds unless otherwise certified through a design construction, blah, 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 blah. And operational safety program administered by a community-based organization. So AMA was a community-based organization. right? They're the ones that told us all, you're going to fly the airplane in a safe way. Anybody who didn't use AMA to fly aircraft, you know, people built their own RCs and weren't part of AMA, but if they were less than 55 pounds, everybody said, okay, fine. They were the bigger quarter scales, bigger than that, so on and so forth. You had to be part of AMA because you had to fall under the community standards. Their community standard says you're going to fly safe, you're not going to interfere with manned aircraft, all those happy rules. All right? So, the next question is, wait, you know, what is Section 336, Public Law 112.95? Anybody know? No, you don't. No.
One that comes after 330.
Nah, well, okay. In the section, yeah, there's that many sections. There's more than that in this law, I'll tell you. It's typical what gets passed by Congress. It's known as the FAA Modernization and Reform Act of 2012. And even before that, 101.41 was out there. But it fell under this in 2012 when Congress remandated the FAA and started allocating funds. Okay? So, if the Act holds that, or specifically, it allowed hobbyists to continue to fly their RC models within reason. Don't do anything stupid with the model. Don't fly in Class Delta airspace. Don't go buzzing down runway 9 right at O'Hare. Okay? Not a good plan. Allowed the new hobbyist drone industry to fly as they wanted, within reason. What new hobbyist drone industry? What happened? Remember when everybody said it's really hard to fly a model helicopter? Remember those days? It's almost impossible. They're twitchy, they're hard, you got to be really skilled and da-da-da-da-da. What's happened between, say, 2010 and 2022 and to the drone industry, to the unmanned aerial system industry? What, and in particular from 2010 on?
Anybody can fly.
Yeah, anybody can fly. Why? Why are they, okay, we just went around in a circle. That's called a tautology. How did they become easy? What's that? The IMUs inside them, the gyros. What's up? What is circling the globe right this very instant that makes them easy to fly? GPS. Okay? The drone knows where it is. What did the Department of Defense do in this time period with GPS? It took away the 10-meter restriction, right? Okay, so you could park a drone in a strong wind. I can hover a high-end drone right outside this door and shoot video in here, and it just sit there all day until it ran out of battery, right? It knows what to do. I couldn't control it that way. I'm a fairly good drone pilot. I can fly fairly well by hand. I watch these, but I'm not a drone racer. I can't go buzzing through the wickets and all that other good stuff. But the drones know what to do. You tell it, hover here. Okay, I'll hover here. And it's doing what every good helicopter pilot's doing. In its little brain, it's doing this with its own little collective, right? Okay. All this is because 101.41 and Brian, very funny. 101.41 and 101.43 quoted Section 336 as the Act bringing regulation into compliance with the law. Brian put something up on the monitor that I thought was up on the screen. Anyway. All right. So, with all of that, you did that, now I won't advance. Okay. All right. All was right with the world. Everybody's happy. People got to play with their aircraft. Man World was out there doing its thing. You know, the full, what we called when I did my one model and was hanging around with the club I was in, the full scale world was happy. All was right. And this is the problem and the blessing. Right there. Technology reared its head. The other thing that happened is the cameras and gimbals improved remarkably during this time. What else got invented during this time period? Not a drone. Drones are out there. What else got invented? Say it again louder. GoPro. Lipstick cameras, GoPros, small platform cameras, all because somebody figured out how to build a camera sensor into this thing. Okay, so small, very portable cameras came to be, which made it easy to hang them on a small gimbal that tied into the IMU of the aircraft that held everything steady. If I were to hover, with this light breeze out here, if I were to hover a drone out there, you'd see the drone dancing all over the place and the image would be rock solid. Wouldn't move one little bit unless I set it up in another mode entirely. Okay? Multi-rotor copters, the most unstable aircraft ever built, became remarkably easy to fly. And using GPS and using enhanced stability systems that fit on a card. Some drones I've flown have 4 IMUs, 4 systems on there for redundancy. They were light enough and small enough to get away with that. And of course, the price point dropped precipitously. Equipment that cost thousands and thousands of dollars, you go into the Apple store and buy for $300-400. Best Buy. Wherever. You know, just, here's my Visa card, I'll buy this. And you bought a system that would do aerial photography for the average person that Hollywood studios were, image quality Hollywood studios was getting back in the 80s and 90s. The result of all this was everyone who wanted a professional flying camera platform could afford it. What was it? Christmas of 2015? Sales of drones went through the roof. That was the hot toy of 2015, remember? Everybody had to have one. Everybody had it. Let's go take pictures of the neighbor's roof. Let's go do this. Let's go do that. And privacy, everybody's worried about privacy. Brave new world, da 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 da. But here we are. All of a sudden, everybody's got a drone. So as a consequence, the motion picture and TV industries could utilize high-end drones and cameras instead of aircraft and Chapman cranes. Anybody, those of you who are in the movie know what a Chapman crane is. It's the dolly. Goes up and down, All right? Easier, cheaper. That's what it's all about, right? Easier, cheaper, get the same quality or even better. It's a win-win-win all the way around. Consumers could do the same thing with lower-end equipment and getting nearly identical results, often allowing people to make money doing so. How many flight instructors are there in the room? I just said aviation and making money. What does that sound like to you? Not that too, but seriously. Making money and aviation. Combining those two things. What does that sound like? That too? Keep thinking about the answer. What? Yeah, okay. Industries that utilize aircraft-derived imagery sparingly due to high cost saw the possibilities of doing this work. My company, for example, decided to do it in-house because it became very, very cheap to do so. So there's a difficulty with this, and I planted the seed. Aviation and taking in money. And now I'm going to get serious, guys, okay? Aviation and taking in money. Put the two together. What do we know that as in our world, in the man world? Bingo. Commercial activities. Surprise. There's a problem with that. 14 CFR 101.401 parentheses 8. By the way, I'm not an attorney. I just know how to say it that way. Title 14 101.41a stated, the aircraft is flown strictly for hobby or recreational use. Ruh-roh. We got a problem. We got people making money, putting stuff up on YouTube, monetizing this stuff, starting to do real estate photography, all these other good things. Companies like mine are itching to do inspections from above with the aircraft. But you can only do it as a hobby. Okay? Companies and individuals seeking to use UASs, drones commercially, had to apply for a Section 336 waiver. It was a fun process. I put in for one for my company. It was a lot of fun. I told my boss I want to do this again real soon, right after I do my taxes. Okay. You know, time consuming for both it was time consuming for the regulator and the applicant. The FSDOs didn't know what to do with it. It all went to Washington. It was a pain in the neck for everybody involved. They literally had a desk in Washington. At one point, they had so many 336s coming in that they had people sitting in an office in Washington just reviewing and processing as fast as they could. It was easy to get it wrong, real easy. And it was aircraft specific until someone at the agency got clever and said, why don't we just put out a list of all the aircraft and we'll just say, we'll accept any of these. Don't put them in there anymore. Just, here's your list. This led to the FAA, and they were also mandated to by the administration, creating that. Part 107. Small unmanned aircraft systems. No one says that. No one says that last part. It's Part 107. You'll always hear Part 107, Part 107. I'm a Part 107 pilot. My drone is flying under Part 107. Okay, fine. This is the commercial rule, and it's a pretty straightforward rule. And I'm not going to lecture a whole bunch about it, but we can talk about it offline. But here we go. Features of 107 when it first went effective on August 29, 2016, and I see I forgot to fade out one thing at the bottom there, but that's all right. That's important. No flight over people or moving vehicles. It applies to commercial operations. Gonna put the video up on YouTube and get 50 cents? Commercial op. Was for aircraft under 55 pounds gross weight. Limited to daytime VFR operations. Had to be within line of sight, and no flight over people or moving vehicles. There was no easy access to Bravo, Charlie, Delta, or surface Class E airspace. You could do it. It was hard. I did it. In a few emergencies, I did it. Had to survey floodwaters. Could be done, but it was hard. Okay? You could get, at the time, you had to get a waiver or an emergency waiver. The waiver portion was 90 days. Emergency waiver you get right away by submitting a special form to a special bunch of people. All right? Features of 107 continued. It was easy to get a Part 107 commercial certificate for yourself with PAS 4, already certificated Part 61 pilots. Those of us with Orville and Wilbur in our pocket already. And newcomers. Newcomers. What is Bob talking about? Newcomers. Where did these newcomer people come from? Well, here's where we are right now. As of May 31st, there's 280,000 plus remote pilots, certificated pilots. But I'm not done with the number yet. I'm not done. 250,000 people are flying. A quarter million commercial pilots have been admitted into the national airspace. Additional pilots above the roughly 600,000 pilots that already were here in the United States. It's a lot of people. That's almost half of us, right? Okay. Part 107 was amended in 2021. Night operation without a waiver. If a pilot has received the appropriate additional training, I won't. I'm going to brag for 1 second. If you read the additional training for night operations, it reads a lot like my company's application for a night waiver. It reads a lot like it, but I'll never be able to prove it, and the agency won't give it to me. Flight over, and who knows who else had the same ideas. Flight over people and moving vehicles if aircraft meet certain requirements. Basically, if it hits them, it's not going to kill them. Based on waivers granted under the original version of the, and all this is based on waivers granted under the original version. They had a very easy waiver process to be able to fly at night and so on. The idea being is the FAA would study them and take the best ideas and turn those into the new reg. Along with that, Lance came along and allowed easy access to Bravo, Charlie, Delta, and Service Echo airspace. Hey, that's great. That is absolutely terrific. If I need to fly, there's some places where you still had to get a waiver, like, the surface area of O'Hare. And there's a legitimate reason. If there's a fuel spill near Lake O'Hare, there'd be a legitimate reason to follow the fuel trail. But that's going to take some real coordination, given what O'Hare does. But there are what are called Lance maps that are available at the agency that show you the ceilings and so on and so forth around the class Bravo, how high you can fly. And then you get authorization. And basically it gives the control tower a chance to call you up and say, look, we're changing the way the world's working. You got to land that thing. Okay, we know you're out flying. Don't take off. If you're flying, get it on the ground. Okay, it's a pretty good system, and it's fully automated. You don't have to bother anybody. There's several vendors providing Lance access. So the current numbers. This is as of May 31st again. 315,000 commercial drones. 538,000 recreational drones have been registered. That is, you bought yourself something, you plan not to make a single dime doing it. Still got to register it. Still gets put in the registry. As I said, 281 roughly 1,000 remote pilots certified. And there are 257,000 trust completion certificates. Those are the recreational folks that have to pass a test, but they don't get a certificate. Okay? That's somebody who wants to fly their model P-51. Or they've bought themselves a drone. They just want to go drone racing out at the local park. That is a lot of people that have come into the airspace.
Just the ones that bothered to fly.
And those are the ones who bothered to comply. There we go. You've here. You can take it from here. Exactly right. Those are the people who bothered to. So, of the 818, 5,990 remote pilots out there in our airspace, and it's not, I don't mean my airspace as I'm a pilot. I am talking about a national asset, the National Airspace System. The only ones that have had any required formal training and an endorsement from some sort of instructor are those of us that hold a Part 61 certificate. Now we'll go on. Everyone else just had to pass the appropriate knowledge test. With a 70, by the way. Okay, so now we're up to the opportunity. It took me half an hour to get up to the opportunity. And that's why I said this is not a course to teach you how to fly drones. That was not the whole purpose of this. The purpose of this is to invite flight instructors to take a golden opportunity by the horn. We have a chance to do something for safety and promote aviation all at the same time here. And perhaps perhaps I'm so adamant about it because of what I did for my company. There have been many excellent products produced to help users pass the knowledge test, ranging from the traditional producers such as Gleim, the Kings, Sporties, Russ Still at Gold Seal, okay? Lots of good classes from those folks, to an entirely new group of providers. There's people out there I never heard of in my life, right? What do I mean by risk management in the drone verse? What kind of risk management should a drone pilot be thinking about? That we think about as a normal part of our daily activity as pilots. What can we help them understand?
Same stuff, weather, terrain.
Okay, here, Mike. This gentleman right here in front.
It's just a lot of the same stuff. Weather and terrain and every other risk factor you would
Okay.
across the...
Are there additional risk factors in the drone verse that go beyond weather and terrain? Oh, that's perfect. That's exactly right. What else? These. There you go. Say it. Shout it out.
Loss of control.
Loss of control. What do you do if the drone goes stupid? Yeah. We used to have a scenario that we talked about called the Sunday morning church bus nightmare. The drone gets away from us and goes through the window of a school bus full of kids on a Sunday morning. That was our biggest hit. That was the one I used to use to drill it into people's heads. Okay?
Isn't there like a kill switch or a come home switch or something like that on the drone?
There are kill switches and go home switches. One manufacturer has an excellent. I lost the mothership. I'm coming home regardless. There's a risk with it coming home though. What if it takes the worst possible path to come home? It doesn't see the obstacle on the way back that you so diligently worked your way around to get to where you needed to go to take the pictures, and it just flies right into the antenna. Here we go again. And then falls down on top of somebody who's looking up at it. Okay? See where I'm coming from? So all the risk factors, risk management. Help them see the world with a different set of eyes. It's not just going up and taking pretty pictures. There's all kinds of nasty things that we just stop. We think about it automatically as pilots and we put them in the appropriate box and say, okay, we've done it, we've checked it, we're good, we're going, right? Why airspace is organized the way it is. And help them foster compliance from a point of understanding, not rote knowledge. Is it easier to know why O'Hare has class, guess where I grew up, by the way. Is it easier to understand why O'Hare has Class Bravo airspace than saying it's a pain in the neck to know about it? Does it make more sense to teach somebody why a Bravo is shaped like an upside down wedding cake? Or why a delta is roughly 5 miles across or in the radius, right? The night training requirement. Any special things about night flying that we would add to the conversation for a remote pilot? Lights? Any illusions that we have to know about as pilots? I'm going to hover an aircraft. I'm going to hover a perfectly stable aircraft a quarter mile away with a strobe and nav lights on it. Oh, by the way, they're non-traditional nav lights, which makes me crazy, but that's a different story for a different day. With nav lights hanging out there. I'm going to look at it. Which way is it facing? And so if I move the stick, which way is it going? Going to go. Is it climbing, descending, or moving away or towards me? It's a flat it's a two-dimensional object on a black field. Which way, what motion is that thing doing? These are the things that they have to really intrinsically understand. Or you're standing there and it's hovering and you're looking at it and it starts to move. You're not touching the sticks and the GPS signal's good and it starts to move. There a possible illusion there? You're nodding your head. What's the illusion?
That's not the semographic one, is it?
No, but you're in the right neighborhood.
Several syllable word I can't remember.
Yeah, you get the idea. Your eye, yeah. Basically, and I can't remember the name of it either. I even wrote it in my company's waiver, and I can't think of the name of it. Mike, do you remember the name of it? But you know what I'm talking about, where you're looking at a star and all of a sudden it starts, the light that moves, yeah, against a black field because you've got no reference. Now you think the thing's out of control, and then you start inducing pilot-induced oscillations in the thing because you're trying to stop it and it never moved in the first place. The point is that these new pilots have never seen this. They don't get it. They don't understand it. And now they're going to experience it for the first time. This one is huge. They passed the test on the FARs to get the certificate. But there's a difference between reading the FARs and understanding how to read them. We spend our lives as pilots trying to make sure we do the right thing, looking at all those commas, semicolons. The word shall has special meaning, okay? Or has a very special meaning, so on. And may, okay? It's not casual English, and these people have to understand this stuff. And finally, welcome. Look, they're newbies. Maybe we can get more manned pilots out of the deal. Look at how I became a pilot. I flew an RC and said, well, this is boring. And really, by the way, when you fly a drone and doing really good aerial surveys, it's the most boring flying you'll ever do in your life. You're just sitting there watching the thing cycle, taking images or sensor readings. But welcome to the aviation community. Say, hey, if you like what the drone's doing, you want to see it firsthand? We can take you up and show you.